And we began asking in 1994, let's take a closer look at this guy, because his name pops up in a lot of places. He may be doing more than just writing checks.
By 1996, Osama bin Laden had moved to Afghanistan and called upon the Muslim world to wage war against Americans. The CIA had formed an entire unit devoted to following bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. The first chief of the CIA bin Laden unit was Mike Scheuer.
By the end of '96, it was apparent that bin Laden was much more than a tall Saudi spendthrift. That he was a very articulate man and a very much a odd combination of a medieval theologian and a 21st century CEO. He was someone who could manage an organization and drive it toward particular goals.
In the next few years, Osama bin Laden methodically built up Al-Qaeda. In 1997, he opened his training camps near Khost, Afghanistan. Mujahideen from all over the world arrived to receive elaborate military instruction. Bin Laden invited journalists and camera crews to visit his camps, and he even demonstrated his prowess with an AK-47 assault rifle. In May 1998, Osama bin Laden called a press conference to announce he was joining forces with the Egyptian group Islamic Jihad. Pakistani journalist Rahimullah Yousafzai traveled to Afghanistan to attend that press conference.
We spent about 5 hours with him. We interviewed him. In this press conference, he announced the creation of the International Islamic Front for Jihad against the US and Israel. And he said that Al-Qaeda was merging in this front that very day.
Bin Laden published a 12-page declaration of war against the United States. The CIA bin Laden unit was impressed.
It was a learned document. It wasn't a wild man saying, I declare war against you. It was a very reasoned document, and I think that's what caught the eye of most of the people who were working against bin Laden, that this guy is something different than we had seen before. How was it received in Washington? It was blown off. Yeah, you know, bin Laden and what power is going to declare war on the United States?
By 1998, there was a new power allied with bin Laden. The Taliban had seized control of Afghanistan and were imposing draconian religious laws on the population. Mullah Omar, the reclusive head of the Taliban, protected bin Laden as a guest in his country, but even he worried that Al-Qaeda was becoming a state within a state.
Mullah Omar called me from Kandahar, saying, were you in this press conference in Khost with bin Laden? I said, yes. He said, how did you go there? I said, we were taken by a Kashmiri Mujahideen group. We were smuggled across the border. He said, did you have visa? I said, no. And he said, how come he gave a press conference in my country? He said, there can be only one ruler of this country. It's either me or bin Laden.
Just 20 kilometers outside Kandahar, Afghanistan, is a former agricultural compound named Tarnak Farm. American bombing reduced it to rubble after 9/11, because for 4 years, this was the home of Osama bin Laden. He moved in here at the insistence of Mullah Omar, who wanted to keep a closer eye on him. In 1998, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency started tracking bin Laden. The CIA used satellite photography and local spies to follow his every move.
It's an exaggeration, but he was almost like a blue-collar guy. He'd get his lunch pail in the morning and leave Tarnak Farm and drive up to Kandahar and check on his businesses and have lunch and deal with Mullah Omar and come back at the end of the day.
The CIA developed a plan to arrest bin Laden and bring him to the U.S. to stand trial. A team of Afghan commandos was hired for the operation. In charge was the CIA's station chief in Islamabad, Gary Schroen.
So the plan would have called for about 35 or 40 of these Afghan fighters to sneak into the camp. We knew the 3 houses that bin Laden owned personally, and then he had his wives stationed in it. He rotated between those 3 houses when he was there. So we would attack those 3 houses, trying to do it with the minimum amount of noise or whatever, grab him, and then they had a way of, there was a culvert that ran under the wall, and take him out that way.
The Tarnak Farm kidnap operation was scheduled for the night of June 23, 1998. Then, just before it was to go ahead, there was a debate at the White House about how many people were likely to be killed.
I said, well, there will be a gunfight. There's no way that once an alarm is raised that these guys aren't going to pour out of their homes with AK-47s and all. And so I think that was one of the, probably the deciding factor in when the plan was presented, where it was just simply finally rejected.
While the U.S. government hesitated about attacking Osama bin Laden, he attacked them. On August 7, 1998, the U.S. African embassies in Dar es Salaam and Nairobi were almost destroyed by truck bombs. 224 people died, including 12 Americans. Over 5,000 were injured. The investigation led straight to Osama bin Laden. In the Situation Room at the White House, Clinton's national security team decided to hit back with cruise missiles. The CIA had received information that bin Laden would be meeting other al-Qaeda leaders at one of his Afghanistan training camps on August 20th, 1998. The cruise missiles fired from the Arabian Sea traveled over Pakistan and landed in the Afghan training camps. But narrowly missed bin Laden. Bill Clinton's crisis management team was disappointed, according to the president's deputy national security advisor, James Steinberg.
We had hoped, and there was some reason to think that bin Laden might be there, and he wasn't at the time of the attack. And so it is a reminder that this is a very, very difficult thing to do, and that there's, as people have correctly said, there's a limited effectiveness to this particular tactic in dealing with this kind of problem. Cruise missiles are not well designed to deal with this kind of threat.
After the failure of the cruise missile attack, President Clinton reversed his position and authorized the CIA to kidnap Osama bin Laden. But now it would be more difficult.
He was no longer the blue-collar guy in the lunch bucket. He was moving at different times of the day, in different vehicles. He was staying overnight in places away from Tarnak Farm. So we revived it, but the chances of success were marginal after the cruise missile attack.
I could tell you where he was last night, but I couldn't tell you where he was going to be tonight. And that was, every day it was like that. So you couldn't get ahead of him. You couldn't get our guys out in front of him. We were always trailing about a half a day behind.
In late December 1998, CIA field agents were finally able to get ahead of Osama bin Laden. They received a tip that he would be coming to visit Kandahar. He would be staying overnight here at the governor's mansion. American ships in the Arabian Sea prepared their cruise missiles to strike the governor's mansion. CIA agent Gary Schroen emailed headquarters, "Hit him tonight. We may not get another chance."